You think going quiet makes you look weak. You think pulling back means losing. But here's the truth, nobody is going to hand you politely. Your absence might be the most powerful thing you have ever done, and you have been too afraid to use it. Let that land. Because right now, while you are out here chasing, texting first, showing up whenever she needs you, making yourself infinitely available, she is not growing more attracted to you. She is growing more comfortable. And comfortable is not the same as interested. Comfortable is the waiting room before she finds someone who challenges her. So today, we are talking about what actually happens inside a woman's mind when you stop, when you go quiet, when you reclaim your time, your energy, and your presence. Not as a game, not as manipulation, as a man who finally understood his own value. If this is the kind of truth you have been starving for, hit subscribe right now. Not for me, for you, because you need a place you can come back to that will not lie to you. You need a channel that respects you enough to say the hard thing. This is that place. Subscribe, and let's keep going. Here's what it really means when you disappear. It is not rejection, it is recalibration. It is a psychological pattern so deeply embedded in human nature that she cannot override it no matter how logical she thinks she is. Your absence forces her to confront something she never had to face when you were always available, your actual value. And the moment she has to ask herself why you went quiet, you have already shifted the dynamic. You have already changed the game, not by playing it, by stepping off the field. So let's walk through exactly what she feels, all 10 of them, in sequence, because this is not guesswork. This is psychology. The first thing she feels is confusion, not the soft kind, the sharp, disorienting kind that wakes her up at 2 a.m. staring at your last message. When you are always there, you become predictable. Predictable becomes invisible. But the moment you break the pattern, her brain treats it as a signal. Something changed. Something is off. And her mind cannot rest until it understands why. She goes back through conversations looking for clues. She checks your profile. She replays moments. You have not done anything dramatic. You have simply stopped performing. And that silence is louder than anything you ever said. The second thing she feels is anxiety. Real anxiety. Because women are, at their core, deeply attuned to social signals. It is biological. It is cultural. It is real. When a man who was consistently warm and available suddenly becomes distant, her nervous system reads it as a threat to the connection. She starts asking questions she never asked before. Did I do something wrong? Is he talking to someone else? Did he lose interest? These are not weakness in her. These are the natural consequence of a withdrawal of presence she had come to rely on. You were her emotional predictability, and now you are not. That matters. The third thing she feels is irritation, and this one surprises people. She gets a little angry. Why has he not texted? Who does he think he is? And here is where most men make the fatal mistake. They see the attitude and they break. They apologize. They reach out. They try to smooth it over. But that irritation is not a sign she hates you. That irritation is proof she cares. You cannot be irritated by something that means nothing to you. Indifference is silence on the inside too. Irritation is emotional fuel. That fuel has your name on it. The fourth thing she feels is curiosity. Genuine, uncontrollable curiosity. She starts wondering what you are doing, who you are with, what is filling the space where she used to be. The man who was always available gave her nothing to wonder about, but the man who stepped back, he suddenly has a whole life she cannot see, and the human mind is obsessed with what it cannot access. What is behind the closed door is always more interesting than what is in plain sight. You are now behind a closed door. She is standing in the hallway wondering. The fifth thing she feels is reevaluation. This is where the real shift happens. When you were always there, she did not have to assess your worth. You were a constant, like air. You do not appreciate air until it is gone. But in your absence, she begins to replay your qualities, your humor, your ambition, the way you made her feel in certain moments. Things she glossed over when you were present become vivid in your absence. That is called scarcity psychology. And it is not a trick. It is reality. Rare things are valuable. Common things are taken for granted. You made yourself common. Your silence makes you rare again. The sixth thing she feels is the urge to reach out. Not always immediately, sometimes it builds slowly, but at some point, the combination of confusion, anxiety, curiosity, and reevaluation produces a very specific desire. She wants to hear from you. She wants contact. She might test the waters with something casual, a meme, a song, a "hey, you okay?" She is not reaching out because she needs information. She is reaching out because she needs to reestablish connection. And the fact that she is initiating, that is her telling you without telling you that she noticed, that you mattered enough for her to move first. The seventh thing she feels is self-doubt, and this one is important for you to understand because it is not about making her feel bad. It is about understanding what your presence and absence actually communicate. When you were constantly available, you sent a subtle message. I need you more than you need me. And that message, over time, inflated her sense of power in the dynamic. Your silence resets that. It introduces a question she is not used to asking. Maybe I was not as irreplaceable as I thought. That moment of self-reflection is not cruelty. It is honesty. And it is the beginning of a much more balanced dynamic. The eighth thing she feels is idealization. Here is where your absence starts working for you in ways your presence never could. In your silence, she fills the space with the best version of you. She remembers the moments that made her feel something real. She forgets the small frustrations. She reconstructs you through memory. And memory is a romantic artist. It smooths the rough edges. It amplifies the highlights. You are not there to contradict the image. So the image grows. That is not manipulation. That is human memory doing exactly what it always does. And it almost always works in favor of the one who left, not the one who stayed. The ninth thing she feels is something that looks a lot like attraction, real, renewed attraction. Not the comfortable familiarity she had before, but the sharp, alert kind, the kind that made her interested in you to begin with. Because attraction is not built in certainty, it is built in uncertainty. It lives in the gap between what you know and what you do not know. Your absence created that gap. Your silence became the question she wants to answer, and the question she wants to answer is always more compelling than the answer she already has. The 10th thing she feels, and this one is the most important, is respect. Not obligation, not habit, actual respect. Because on some level, conscious or not, she understands that a man who can walk away has standards. A man who goes quiet instead of begging communicates that his time is not infinite, that his presence is not free, that he has a life that does not revolve around her approval. And that is not coldness. That is dignity. Dignity is attractive. Dignity is the foundation of every dynamic worth having. She may not say it, she may not even understand it consciously, but she feels it. And that feeling is the beginning of something real. Now let me tell you about the man who actually does this. Not the man who disappears out of spite, not the man who goes cold to punish, but the man who withdraws because he has something to withdraw into. He wakes up with a mission, a project, a purpose, a direction that demands his attention every single morning. His identity is not assembled from her opinion of him. It was built in rooms she was never in, through failures she never witnessed, through discipline that had nothing to do with being seen. He does not check his phone hoping for a message because his morning is already full, not performatively full, actually genuinely full. He has things to protect, his focus, his energy, his peace, and he guards them the way a serious man guards serious things. He is warm when it is earned and cool when it is not because he calculated it, but because he genuinely values his own time. He does not ghost out of games. He simply goes back to being himself. And being himself means he does not orbit anyone. He does not perform availability to be liked. He shows up when it is real and he withdraws when it is not. Not dramatically, not with speeches. He just stops chasing what was not running toward him in the first place. And in that stillness, in that quiet confidence, he becomes the most interesting man in any room she walks into. Not because of what he says, because of what he does not need. That man is not a myth. That man is a choice you can make starting today. So here's what you do. You stop explaining yourself to people who have not earned the explanation. You stop making yourself available to anyone who has not demonstrated they value your time. You redirect your energy from managing her emotions to building your own life. Every hour you spent anxious about what she is thinking is an hour you could have spent becoming someone worth thinking about. You start filling your days with things that have nothing to do with her, not to make her jealous. Because you are a man with a life, and a life does not pause for uncertainty. You stop initiating when you are the only one initiating. You stop softening your presence to make her comfortable at the expense of your standards. You stop interpreting her silence as a verdict on your worth. Her silence is information, not a sentence. Receive it as data. Respond to it with recalibration, not desperation. You set the standard by living it. You become the kind of man whose absence is felt because his presence was genuine, grounded, and unapologetic. You do not need to announce that you are stepping back. You just step back, back into your own life, back into your own purpose, back into the version of yourself that does not shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. Because here's the thing nobody told you. You were never too much. You were simply in the wrong posture. The value was always there. The power was always yours. You just forgot to act like it. Proximity without value creates dependence. But presence with purpose creates something completely different. It creates pull. Real, unmanipulated, undeniable pull. The kind that does not need to be manufactured because it comes from a man who actually knows who he is. You are not a backup plan. You are not a placeholder. You are not the man who is grateful just to be chosen. You are the standard. And when you live like the standard, the dynamic corrects itself. Not because you played a game, because you told the truth about your own worth by the way you moved. This is the reset, not just in how she sees you, in how you see yourself. If this hit something in you, if some part of you recognized the man you have been and felt the sharp, clear pull toward the man you want to be, subscribe right now, because we go deeper here every single time. Attraction, psychology, identity, standards, the conversations that most people are too comfortable to have. This channel is built for the man who is done being comfortable and ready to be clear. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next truth. And to everyone already here, you already know why you came back, because this is the place where you are not managed. You are challenged, you are respected, and you belong here.